Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 302 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. Ryan and Trey here with you this evening, previewing week 14 of the CFL season. Back to 4 games on the schedule this week after just 3 over the Labor Day weekend. It's a fun Labor Day weekend, some great games going on there, and we're here to preview week number 14 with a bit of a different format than usual. We're switching things up, trying a few different things. And so we're going to focus primarily just on the CFL fantasy and the betting picks here tonight. We've got a fun way to do so. But first, let's welcome in Trey before I explain more. Trey, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic, man. First week of school. Love dropping the little shits off and seeing the miserableness in their eyes. They've been having too much fun over the summer. They've been making fun of me that I'm turning 30 soon, so I got to make fun of them. They had to go back to school. So, you know how it is.
It's all even.
How you doing, man? How you doing? Ryan, you had some time off. It's good to see you consecutive weeks, man. It's good.
Hey, I'm good. I'm happy to be back. It's a fun time of year. Enjoying lots of family time and football time. There's CFL still going. NFL kicked off tonight, so it's a fun time of year for those that enjoy football. There's college football going on for those that enjoy that as well. It's a great time of year, and they say the CFL season doesn't start till Labor Day, so I guess it's officially underway as of this past weekend. But yeah, we're going to preview CFL fantasy here tonight. We're going to do a CFL Gamezone fantasy lineup draft. So to go through each of the positions, Trey and I will be drafting options from CFL Gamezone fantasy. So we will each pick a unique lineup, meaning we can't have the same quarterback. We have to fit within the salary restrictions, and that'll give us an opportunity to talk about a number of different options, a number of different strategies for CFL fantasy this week. We'll also do our betting picks here. The same ones we usually do, picks against the spread, over under in the second half of the show. Try to do a little bit more of a condensed format here, but get you all the same information that we know folks enjoy tuning in for. We're also live, so send in your comments and questions in the live chats on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch feeds. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV. You can learn more at gametimetv.ca or on Facebook at facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. As always, we want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. And if you're looking for additional content on top of our weekly episodes, check out the Canadian Football Countdown Discord community. Link is in the episode description. It's free to join us over there. Live CFL game chats, lots of CFL fantasy chatter, betting talk, NFL channel. There's been some discussion going on with the kickoff of the NFL season there as well. Free to join us over there. Lots to discuss at this time of year. So come on over and join us. It's free to join. You got any plugs for the Discord? Got anything else to plug from the Discord?
No, our NFL group's all set. No, just let's kick it, man. I'm interested in this new format we're going to test out today. Either people are going to love it or hate it.
They're going to love it, either they're going to hate it. You know what? We love talking fantasy. We love talking betting here on the show. I know we've talked a lot of storylines, but we find over time we're just kind of regurgitating the same storylines, or we kind of get into those when we talk about fantasy and our betting picks as well. Plus those you can get from many different things out there at the same time. So it felt a little redundant. So we're cutting those out. We're experimenting here. And if people hate it, maybe we switch back again. But we're cutting out the matchup storylines talk. We'll weave them into the fantasy talk. I was really trying to figure out how can we, in a approximately half-hour segment, talk through all the fantasy options, get your input, my input, Adam when he's here, Mike when he's here as well. Given that I just did a mini episode last week, that was 35 minutes of just me talking through all the options. So I asked the good friend ChatGPT for some suggestions, and I can't take credit because this one came from ChatGPT, and it was a lineup draft. So basically, you're going to hear, a couple quarterback options, running back, wide receiver, defense options. As like I said off the top, Trey and I are going to draft our teams here. So normally you play Gamezone Fantasy or Daily Fantasy for the CFL, whether it's Gamezone, DraftKings, etc. Many people have the same lineup. Lots of people pick the same quarterback, for example. We're not going to do that. We're not actually using these lineups for our week. Full disclaimer, we will use whatever lineups we choose, and we're not going to restrict ourselves when the week starts, but we will go through and we will draft some lineups here as I pull this up on the screen, our little draft board here. I think that's the best view for the draft board. And we're going to draft our lineups, and we will put it to a vote at the end. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on social media who you think drafted the better team. And I'll keep track of the scores, and then we'll come back next week and see who actually picked the better team as we get into CFL fantasy for the week. I'll give you a quick rundown, folks, of the important injury news heading into the fantasy week, because that's important as well. On the BC Lions side, nothing really notable there. For the Ottawa Redblacks, Drew Brown is out again this week, so Dustin Crum starts at quarterback once again this week for, I believe, the second week in a row. Braylon Addison back from injury for Ottawa as well, so he gets one of his top receivers back. On the Hamilton Tiger Cats side, for their matchup with Montreal, nothing notable fantasy-wise there. But the Montreal Alouettes are getting a slew of people back. Davis Alexander is not ready to go yet. He is still out another week. I presume that means James Morgan is starting at quarterback again. I haven't heard elsewhere, and we're 2 days away from the kickoff of this game. But he's getting Tyson Philpott back. He's getting Austin Mack back. James Letcher back in the return game. Tyler Snead was questionable earlier in the week. He missed some time, but he is available to go. And Sean Thomas Erlington back in the lineup as well. So interesting to see what Montreal's wide receiver core looks like with all these guys getting back healthy this week. On the Saskatchewan side of their rematch with Winnipeg, no changes there yet. I know Sam Emilus is starting to practice. Keontae Baker starting to practice. Doesn't seem like they're on the injury report yet, so I think they're still on the 6-game injured list. On the Bombers, Dalton Schoen not available this week for the Bombers. It looked like he injured his knee again on that 2-point convert that got intercepted. That was a big deal at the end of the Labor Day clash between those teams. But Ontario Wilson recently signed, has been practicing with the first team offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so expect him to be in the lineup this week. Calgary Stampeders, just looking at the injury report here, nothing notably different from their lineup last week. And on the Edmonton Elks side of things, Curly Gittins Jr. was limited, but is marked as available. They are missing a number of pieces on the defense, with Jake Serezna and Niles Morgan both out, and I believe placed onto the 6-game injured list. That's your quick injury report there. Any of those stand out as majorly impactful for you?
No, the biggest impacts are that new guys like Wilson and Aju aren't on fantasy yet, so this is going to make this draft very interesting. But other than that, no, I'm good, man. That's shown. I'm not surprised. Is it Charlie in the Discord that said a few times the biggest talent a football player can have is health, being healthy.
Yeah,
and he's missing that. We see it all the time in all sports. There's always that one guy who always gets hurt, and Schoen seems to be the next one on that list of guys, and hopefully he can fully come back at some point. But yeah, other than that, it's football. Injury's going to happen, and fantasy. The plus side of this fantasy, maybe we can find some $5,000 receiver that can help us out here.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that was a big hit. Oh, sorry, some guy just got knocked out. Sorry. That was crazy. Okay, sorry. Anyway,
it should surprise nobody that Trey's got the NFL game on in the background mid-recording.
I'm usually pretty good, but that guy got blindsided. Okay, we're good. Let's start off the draft.
All right, let's kick off the draft. So Gamezone Fantasy, $70,000 is your budget limit. You got to pick a defense, quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. We're going based on the current Gamezone prices here. You can draft them in any order you want. So kind of the goal of doing this also is that different strategies come out. And it kind of shows how we value each of the players. Do we really value this value play, for example? Do we really value a cheap defense to allow us to stack more options, or do you just want your top guy at the first pick? I offered Trey the first pick because this was my ChatGPT / my idea, and I've had some more time to think about different ways to go. So Trey, kick us off. What direction do you want to go for your first pick in the week 4 Week 14 Gamezone fantasy lineup draft.
There's plenty of different ways. At first, I thought about going big, but then I thought it's only the two of us, so there's really no quarterback that I'm going to be real upset if you take away from me. There's real no running back I'm going to be real upset. There's 1,000 receivers in football. So I'm going to go a way that I hope kind of maybe messes with you a little bit, just like my NFL fantasy picks. I got to read 9.4 thousand. We're going to take the Calgary Stampeders defense to kick things off. I think between all the matchups this week, against Edmonton, not really too confident in either team in the Banjo Bowl. That could be complete chaos. It could be a 3-0 game or a 1-0 game, honestly, the way that both those kickers can kick sometimes. Or it could be 99-98. Montreal, Hamilton, those are two potent offenses. But like you said, Montreal is coming back with a lot of help. Hamilton's got a great offense, not a great defense. In Ottawa, BC, again, I could see that game being a blowout. So I'm kind of thinking that this rematch will be very similar to last week, and Calgary might be a good play here.
I mean, I'm interested in the defense play, the high price defense play mostly. I had thoughts as well about going defense early here to get one of the cheap ones to stack the rest of my lineup. I feel like that's the way people are trending a lot of times these days. BC is cheap, Ottawa is cheap. Hamilton decently cheap, but yeah, Calgary, 10 points last week, 9 points the week before. They deliver on defense for sure. So I like the pick to open the draft there. I'm not going to go defense early here because you already have picked yours, so I can kind of leave that for the end. And I'm thinking the same thing as you. I like a couple quarterback options. I like a couple running back options. I want to secure some wide receiver picks that I am really high on this week, and I have a good feeling you are as well. So I'm going to go to a guy that has been absolutely on fire, and he's been the biggest enigma when it comes to fantasy pricing over the past month and a half, and that's wide receiver Keandre Smith of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who, after putting up 24 points last week, dropped $1,000 in Gamezone pricing once again. It makes absolutely no sense, but he has been on a tear since week 8. He has finished as the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 9. Had that 1 week where he only put up 1.8 points, which was a weird anomaly. And then back last week to the wide receiver 3 with 24 points. He's getting a lot of targets. He's got over 100 yards, 130 yards in 3 of his last 5 games. And I think as much as Hamilton's going to keep throwing the ball, I'm going to take Keandre Smith for the discount at 11,000 over guys like Lawler's 14,000, Tim White's 12,900. We saw him drop that dud last time. Montreal's defense is hit and miss at times, so I think Keandre Smith's a good first receiver pick, and I have to imagine he was a guy that was potentially on your board.
We were supposed to make a board? Oh, crap.
Your theoretical board.
Theoretical board, yes. Honestly, I might not have picked him first or second here or whatever, but definitely a guy in my real lineup, definitely a guy I'm going to try to squeeze in for sure. And he's on my father fantasy team, right? So, yeah, definitely a guy. A good pick there. 11,000 is definitely a good discount for some of these prices.
And then I'm going to go back. I could go wide receiver again. Do I want to limit myself? I think I do, because I think there's 2 guys I really want in my lineup, and I'm interested to see how I can stack the other options to make them fit. One was Keandre Smith coming at that decent $11,000 discount. The other one's going to cost me quite a bit, but it's Keon Hatcher of the BC Lions. I'm just going really to Trey's private draft league team to take all my wide receivers because he's been on such a tear lately. Keon Hatcher has been a top 10 wide receiver in 4, 5, 6, 7 of his 10 games on the year. He's finished in the top 10. He's averaging 16.9 points a game, 21.6 in his last 3. And he's getting, he's had 5, 6 games of 10 plus targets on the year. And that's exactly what I want. It's a tough matchup with Ottawa, and a weird tough matchup because you don't think of Ottawa as a tough one, but they do a pretty good job of shutting down teams' best receivers. But I think at this point, Keon Hatcher is just matchup proof, and that Nathan Rourke is probably going to throw 300 plus yards, and a lot of them are going to go Hatcher's direction. So let me update the board here and add Keon Hatcher for $14,500 to my lineup. We're going high priced at wide receiver to kick off the draft for me as we go back to you here.
Yeah, I get back to back now, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So, all right. There's a weather delay in the football game, so I was looking at that. So now we can be more serious, Ryan. We'll kick things off here. I got my defense all set. I'm gonna go with a guy that I think is gonna run angry on Saturday in Princess Auto Field. And I don't know, you're smirking. Yeah, I don't know if you know. There's one of two guys here. He got his helmet ripped off, no call. Now he's coming into enemy territory where if I was him, the first thing I do when I get a touchdown, I'm going to rip my own helmet off and throw it into the north end zone. Give me AJ Ouellette at 13.9, coming off of a pretty solid week last week in Mosaic, 16.1. But I think I think he'll definitely have a good shot this week. Then we're going to go bounce back. Going to stick with that game. I believe a Canadian. I believe a Canadian. A guy who just got dropped in our fantasy league, which I was actually kind of surprised about or picked up. Maybe picked up. Give me Neil on Saskatchewan there. 7.5 thousand, a little bit of my discount play here. Liked his production. It was one of those guys where I'm like, watch it on Sunday. How the hell is he open? How the hell is he open? How the hell is he open? And I can't imagine if DeMario Houston or the Winnipeg defense is just going to magically get better over 6 days where he's not open all day on Saturday.
I like the picks. AJ Ouellette is pretty darn consistent, 15-plus carries in every game, but I think 3 of them on the season. He gets some receiving work. He got a touchdown last week. Tommy Neal, he's been in the lineup 4 weeks now for the Riders, and he scored a touchdown in 3 of those games. Doesn't get a ton of targets, but if they're relying on him near the end zone, then that's going to get it done at a pretty good discount price of $7,500. So back-to-back Riders for you. You got a running back, you got a wide receiver, and you don't have the guy. Yeah, I thought you were going Oliveira when you talked about running mad. I really thought you did, but
he needs to get the ball to run mad.
That's true.
So 15,000 for a guy who might get the ball twice on Saturday. I don't think so.
That's fair. All right, I'm just playing around. It's me now with 2 straight picks. I'm just playing around with a couple of options here to see what I have available to me. I haven't really come up with the rules. What if we end up going over the price limit? Like you're just stuck at a point where you can't pick anybody because we are trying to do this on the fly. Do we do negative points to some degree for how much you go over the cap because we're trying to do the complicated?
I didn't think this far, Ryan. I was just thinking we'd be gentlemen and keep it under the salary cap.
we can keep it under the salary cap and hopefully not get stuck at anything wrong. But okay, I like my options here. You know what, running back, I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to go with the contrary and pick exactly what you just said. I'm going with Brady Oliveira at running back this week because I think when you talk about running backs that are running mad, I really like the Brady Oliveira play. And I think the team can't be happy with the fact that they only gave him 5 carries last week. That's certainly not going to get it done. And he's had 10-plus carries in every other game before that. He got his 6 targets again last week. Yes, it was a down game rushing. He seems to be on a rushing touchdown streak. He's kind of opened that up for him at this point this season. He's got rushing touchdowns in 3 straight games. And, Bombers arguably would have won the game if they would have given him the ball at the 2-yard line one more time last week. So I have a feeling maybe all the storm around that this week, maybe they second guess that a little. And I would bank on at least a touchdown for Oliveira, who's consistently putting up 14 or more points in every game but one that he's stayed fully healthy in this season. That's my one running back play. I'm going to round out my running back plays here and give you the floor for the last one. And I need this guy in my lineup in order to make sure that I can hit the value plays that I want to hit to stay under the cap. And I'm going to go with Travis Tice of the Montreal Alouettes at $2,500. Look, I don't know for sure yet who's going to start at running back, what the matchup is going to be like. for Montreal or the split. Sean Thomas Erlington is healthy, so I would presume that means he's going to get the start and maybe a couple of extra carries. But Tice gets some opportunities in there, 5-6 rushes a game and a couple of targets a game, even if STE is healthy. And I think the matchup with Hamilton, I just can't not pick against it, as gross as this running back by committee for Montreal is. The Ticats have allowed an average of 22.8 points per game to running backs on the season. And running backs are scoring 6 more points a game against Hamilton than any other team. We saw it with Spencer Brown last week, kind of a name we hadn't heard much of yet, just break out against the Ticats. And I'm banking on that again here with Travis Tice for $2,500. I always say you need 1.5 points per thousand that you spend. So if you get 4 points out of Tice, you're getting the value I'm looking for. And I think that's easily achievable at the running back position this week. Back to you, Trey. Your thoughts on the two running backs? I guess you talked about Oliveira already, but
yeah, I'm just not sold on he's ever going to get any production. Like, now watch this will be the week he's got the 200 all-purpose yards like he did have a couple of weeks. It's just the inconsistency and that price for him. In our league, where there's no value, like no salary cap, sure, I'll start him because what's the harm, right? Like, he's better than the other running backs I have. But when you have to balance out the salary cap, that's a tough one. But you know what? Between two running backs, you only are paying the $17,500. So I guess, you could look at it that way, where you're paying whatever 8 something each or whatever the math is off the top of my head right now. So I don't mind that. My way, I am going to go with, we're going to go to we're going to go to quarterback, because this guy's probably going to be one of the cheaper guys that's starting, and I know he's on your list potentially. Give me Dustin Crum, the Crum back at 9.8 thousand. Just with a couple other high value plays, that little bit less will definitely be good. And I'm not confident in BC's defense. Like, this guy, he put up almost 27 points against Edmonton a couple weeks ago. BC's defense hasn't been playing great either. It could be a good battle here between Crum and Rourke, I think, on Saturday game.
Yep. Nope, Friday game. Friday, and then there's a triple header on Saturday.
Right. So we'll go with that. Then we're going to stick in that game, and I'm going to round out my running backs here. Give me Stanback at 9.3 thousand, a guy that I've honestly overlooked this year. And but just going through his points and stuff, he did come up with 12.5 last week. Again, his price is a little bit lower than Oliveira and Olet, some of those big top running backs, but I think he'll do enough for me to get the win.
Yeah, Dustin Crum is one of my top 2 options of the week at quarterback. Absolutely. It's either two strategies. It's load up with Nathan Rourke at quarterback for me, who I will be most likely taking here in a moment, if I can make all the money work with what I've drafted so far, which I think I can. Or it's Dustin Crum. And I think Dustin Crum, I would be willing to. I know people were asking in Discord today, like, oh, Ryan always says if Rourke is available, you pick Rourke. Don't even question it. You pick Rourke unless Dustin Crum is starting and at a $5,000 discount, because I think a 20-point week for Crum is absolutely reasonable. He rushes for like 60 yards a game, I think, is his average when he's starting at quarterback this year. And I think he's a better passer than people give him credit for. And this is a BC defense that gave up, 50-something points to Toronto just a couple of weeks ago before the bye week. So I like the Dustin Crum pick. Not a big Stanback fan myself. I've never looked at him as an option at this point in the season, but I get what you're saying about the cap savings, and the BC matchup is a decent one for Stanback there as well. Now it's back to me with 2 picks, I believe, back to back. And what directions can I go? You know what? I have to kind of put in my quarterback and defense, even though I want to leave them for my last spot, just to make sure I get the money right for my flex, and then see what value play I can afford in my flex spot. So give me Nathan Rourke as my quarterback. I love the Nathan Rourke and Keon Hatcher stack. If you're somebody who likes to take a stack of players, those two should deliver a ton of points together. Rourke has been a top 3 quarterback in basically every week but one this season. In his last 3 games, he's averaging 27 points and consistently throwing for over 300 yards and rushing for 30 to 40 there as well. So if I can't take the discount for Crum, I'm going to go with Nathan Rourke and the high-priced quarterback play. And for my defense play, I'm actually going to go I could go bottom of the barrel and just go super cheap at 3,300 with Ottawa or BC. But I'm going to go with the Hamilton Tiger Cats at $5,000. James Morgan did not look good against the Bombers a few weeks ago before their bye week. The Ticats defense, yes, they give up a lot of points at times potentially. But I think we saw them sack Arbuckle a number of times last week. We see them force turnovers, score touchdowns. I think for 5,000, I think the Ticats defense can easily potentially give you a 10-point week, which is hard to come by from defenses. Now we go back to you for your 2 picks.
My final 2. Well, we're going to go with my receiver spot. I guess it doesn't really matter because they're both going to be receivers. We're going to go with a guy coming off a 20-point game back in week 12. Give me Javon Catoy.
Ooh.
At the 8.8K. I think clearly he's been a good target for Rourke. Now coming against Ottawa, where again Ottawa's defense is not my favorite. This last flex spot, I'm really torn here. Oh man, who was the go-to guy? You know what? Let's go with Clark Barnes in Calgary at 8.5. But between him and Philpott, but Philpott was a little bit quiet last week. It's kind of a coin flip between those two. Who I think is going to get the ball. His price is 9.5K. I got a couple of bucks of savings here.
I like the picks there. Yeah, Javon Catoy in consideration. A stat I found before their bye week was I think BC has had 2+ receivers in the top 10 in like 7 or 8 weeks on the year. So I think Hatcher is going to be in there. I don't see any reason why one of Catoy, McInnes, or Berryhill, or even Aberhart couldn't be in there. And Catoy's done it a few times. Clark Barnes has been one of the better Calgary receivers on the year as well. I just struggle so much with Vernon Adams Jr.'s passing totals, where twice in his last 4 games, he's finished under 200 yards. And he hasn't completed more than 20 passes a game in more than once this season. So I'm very surprised from what we've seen so far this year from Vernon Adams that he's not lighting up through the passing game. But in the targets, he does give the way of Clark Barnes. He has been throwing some big play targets to him. He's got 60+ yards in 4 of his 6 games on the year. So you round out your lineup there with $1,800 left to spare. I have $7,000 left for my flex play this week. A couple of different directions I could go. Right under the $7,000 is Kevin Clercius, who looked better for the Bombers and got some more targets last week. Khalil Pimpleton, will he get involved? Won't he? I think the value play I want to go with, and somebody threw this out in the Discord earlier today. Let me get the name so I can give the credit. RL780 asking Arkel Smith as a value play, and I think absolutely at $6,100 for the Edmonton Elks. I have him in consideration for a lineup like this. He last week with the injury to Stephen Dunbar, leading receiver for the Elks, somebody has to step up, and Arkel Smith did a pretty good job of that. He upgraded his target total. He hadn't had more than 4 in a game all year. He upgraded it to 8 targets and had 7 catches for 81 yards in that game. So maybe him and Fajardo are starting to establish a bit of a connection. And if he can get 5 or 6 targets here, I think that will be a success. And that rounds out our lineups for this week.
Are we throwing a captain in there or what?
Oh, yes. Who's your captain play?
Gotta give me the Crum back.
Yeah, Dustin Crum for you, and I'm going to go with Nathan Rourke for me. I always say you should play the quarterbacks as your captain most week because they're the ones most likely to hit.
You know what, too, we were talking about, obviously this does have to be our lineup in all fantasies. I'm going to leave this. I'm actually quite impressed. This turned out better than I thought. I was scared I was going to have some bum that I don't know for $2,000 kind of thing just to fit it in for the white draft. But I'm actually quite happy with this. We're getting to playoff crunch time. I know you're out of it in one league, but we're getting into playoff crunch time. So this is actually good.
Yeah, we established two very good lineups. We saw some different strategies, I think, through here, right? The cheap quarterback play lets you kind of went high priced, really no value play. Like your lowest is $7,500 at Tommy Neild. I had the really cheap one in Travis Tice at $2,500. I had $6,100, and I paid up at the quarterback position. So those are a few different strategies you can use when you're setting your fantasy lineup for this week. Thinking about the different options that you can fit into there. Any quick honorable mentions for you of guys that you would like to fit in your lineup, but not sure if you can fit them in right?
Like I said, I was between Barnes or Philpott. I'd go that way. Maybe. Actually, right now, I'm pretty happy with it. There was not anyone I was like, oh, God, I wish I had him. I flirted with Gittins Jr. a little bit, but again, I went different routes. I flirted a little bit with maybe if Wilson was on here, depending on price. Again, watch him. Who knows? He could be 15,000, but he could also be first week in the CFL. Watch him be 5,000. You know what I mean? Right. We would have been a different thing. Or a Jew, right? Watch him be 5,000 if he was on here. So that's kind of it, depending on price. I really enjoyed. I went on a hunch last week with Spencer Brown, but he's on a bye this week. So that was the only one I was like, at first I was like, oh, I got to put that same running back in. Because I just remember hitting the Toronto running back with no picture last week.
Right.
Turned out okay.
Yeah, Spencer Brown, if you put him in your lineup last week, was dynamite for you. For me, the only other considerations I have is what to do at the running back position. James Butler, Justin Rankin, those are guys that have massive boom potential. Maybe I like Butler more than Oliveira. I would consider perhaps swapping those two out. But then I've got, Rourke, Butler, Hatcher. That's a lot of money invested on the BC side. I kind of like that Oliveira play potentially in there. I might still switch it by game time. I by no means set and forget my lineup. I switch things as I go. But I do like either Rankin or Butler. I think will always have potential, like Oliveira, because they are pass catching backs. Greg Bell, if you want a bit of a cheaper running back at 12,600, is going to get you 10 plus points. He just might not get you the 20s you're looking for. And if I could fit him in, I did play with a lineup earlier this week. I do like Keyshawn Johnson at wide receiver for the Saskatchewan Roughriders because last week he had the down week, his first week under 10 points in a long time, but it still came off of 9 targets. So if you listen to the show regularly, guys that get targets are the guys I want in my lineup, and Keyshawn Johnson is one of the most targeted receivers in the CFL. So those are our drafted rosters for this week. Trey's got Dustin Crum as his captain, AJ Ouellette and Stanback at running back, Tommy Neild, Javon Catoy, Clark Barnes at receiver, and the Calgary defense. I've got Nathan Rourke as my captain, Brady Oliveira, Travis Tice, Keandre Smith, Keon Hatcher, Arkell Smith, and the Hamilton defense. Let us know in the live comment section, in the comments after the fact, in the Discord, on social media. Who do you think drafted the better team for this week? And are there any big plays you have your eyes on that we missed? Let us know. We love to interact on the different feeds when it comes to that. And we'll see who drafted the better team here this week. All right. That's the fantasy preview for this week. What did you think, Trey, of the draft style for this? I liked it.
Oh, I like it, especially with 2 of us, a lot of options. Maybe if all 4 of us were on here, it'd be a little bit of a headache. But I think, 2 or 3 of us, it's fine.
Yes, that might be too much if it was 4 of us. But it was the quickest way we can touch on top options from both of us at each position, and adds a little bit of fun competitive element to it as well. Now we flip into the betting side of this episode where we start talking about our CFL betting picks for this week. Do you want to run through before we get into those where we're at for our season totals if you have them on hand?
Yeah, I did. I totally did. And then I started checking out other things. But yeah, so I didn't realize I was behind keeping track of it, but I've caught all up to date here. After week 13 against the spreads, I'm leading the way at 30 and 20. Adam's at 26 and 24. Ryan, you're 23 and 27. The coin at straight pick'ems is 29-22. Over under, we're all 24, 25, and 1, which is kind of wild that we're all the same. Winning percentage, the coin is leading the way, although it just does pick 'em at 58%. I'm next at 54%. Adam's at 50.5%. And Ryan, you're just under 50% at 47.5. We'll get you over that hump, buddy.
Hey,
we'll get you
season doesn't start till Labor Day, and Labor Day weekend I was 2-1 in both categories. So watch out, the comeback's coming.
Yeah, the crumb back,
the crumb back,
the coop back. Let's go.
All right, yeah, let's get
I was close. I said all three underdogs had a chance, and Winnipeg could have, like literally an extra point or a 2-point conversion away. Toronto did, and then Edmonton was my only fumble when it came to that. So unintended, but we'll see this week.
All right, we get into our 4 games of the week. It's a triple header on Saturday and a Friday night game. What do you make of the triple header? Do you like we've talked about this a couple times over the year. Do you like the triple header? I'm not a big fan.
See, it tickles my NFL bone, right? Because you just sit down and you can watch. And even if you can't watch all day, it's all done in a day, right? It's all done. You know, it's fantasy's all done. Betting's all done one day. I don't mind it. I mean, think about this weekend of football. Thursday night tonight. Friday, you got the Brazil game plus Friday night football. Triple header on Saturday plus college if you're into that. And then normal NFL Sunday with a Monday nighter. Like, if you like all football, you can't complain.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's actually an early UFC day. I'll be at the racetrack anyway, so I'm not going to watch any of this. So it doesn't matter. I can't even make it to Banjo Bowl. A little disappointed, but that's fine.
This will also be my first time not being at the Banjo Bowl in a long time, so I'm a little sad of that as well. They got the Dogs playing the halftime show. It's my favorite halftime show around. But anyways, hope folks enjoy that. Another sellout for the Bombers. But the first game we're talking about here, as I try to adjust the camera so that we're not covered. There we go. That looks better. Is the Friday night matchup. BC and Ottawa both coming off of the bye. Again, Dustin Crum starting for the Red Blacks against the Lions here. BC is 6.5-point favorites on the road. Over-under is at 55.5 for this game. Another high over-under. What are you thinking for this one?
Man, that 6.5 is a tough one. BC hasn't sparked me the way that we've been talking about Rourke's comeback and Rourke's full start of the season and all this. Ottawa's not been great either, but a lot of that's been injuries. Is Crum, the answer? Crum has they're coming off both teams are coming off a bye. I am gonna go BC the 6.5. No, Ottawa plus 6.5. BC will win. Ottawa will lose by a field goal-ish, but I'll go under. Because I think this game will be closer. I think, regardless of what the standings say, these two teams are closer than I think it's likely.
These spreads are tough for me. Like the 6.5-point total, it'd be tougher if it was something like 10, and I don't think that's reasonable between the teams. I'm gonna go with the over, just because BC has been giving up a lot of points. They've also been scoring a lot of points. Like last time, 52-34, they lost to the Argos, 36-18. That was 54 points against Montreal, a 70-point game against the Ticats. Before that, another 70-point game. So I think there's a lot of points to be had here. And I trusted it last week on a really high over-under of like 57 in that Hamilton-Toronto game. So I'm going to trust the over and take that for this one as well. And I think I'm going to go with BC because if this does get into that kind of shootout, I do think the Lions are going to outscore the Red Blacks. And I think it can. I think Dustin Crum brings that kind of little magic play that even though Ottawa's offense has some inefficiencies at times, he can open things up with the big plays there. So I'm going to take the Lions and the over on this matchup. Adam did send in his picks. Didn't send in the picks from the coin, so you got to check the Discord if you want to know what the coin is doing this week. But Adam picked BC and the under for this matchup as well. Second game is the Ticats and the Montreal Alouettes. First game of the Saturday triple header. Hamilton coming in 3-point favorites on the road against the Owls, who, again, coming off a bye, getting a bunch of guys back, but still no Davis Alexander at quarterback.
Yeah, this is another interesting one. Kind of a battle for first too in the East. Montreal just the one game behind Hamilton, so in Toronto's nipping on their heels too, coming back. Interesting fact. I just looking at the standings today. There's actually a couple teams that their away record is better than their home one. Ryan, shocker, huh? And Hamilton's one of them, and they're on the road right now. 4-2 on the road, 4-1 against the Eastern Division. Montreal is 3-1 against the Eastern Division as well, but Montreal's 2-4 at home. Give me Hamilton. Now I don't know what that is against the spread. I haven't checked that out, but Hamilton, they put up a lot of points. Give me Hamilton here, the -3. I'll take the over in this one because I wouldn't be shocked if this is a 40-30 game.
Do you think with James Morgan at QB that the Alouettes can get to that high?
I mean, he's just got to fling it. They got some good receivers back.
That is true.
I think, okay, even still, it could be a 40-12 game, and we hit her over. Or hey, we push it, right? 40-13.
Right.
I think he put 13 points up. And the way Bo and this offense has been playing in Hamilton, they should put up 40.
That is true, yeah. That's a good point. It's an interesting matchup because it's a matchup for first place in the East Division. Hamilton's ahead by 2 points right now. They're 6-5. Montreal's 5-6. The Argos are they're on a bye with this week, but the Argos are suddenly hot on their tails at 4-8. So Montreal loses this one, and they're only 2 points ahead of Toronto. Which who would have thought Montreal might not even host a playoff game or even make the playoffs in 2025 after the way they started. But the injuries have caught up to them. I'm going to go with the Ticats as well. I'm surprised that the spread isn't higher on this one. Maybe people, have a bit of angst with the Ticats after how they blew it against the Argos last week. They got blown out by the Riders before their bye week before that. So Hamilton kind of started slow this year. Then they went on a tear, and now they've fallen off a little bit. But I don't know why they've fallen off because they still have all of those pieces there, especially on offense. Defense has maybe struggled a bit, but I think they've got a good matchup here. Over, under, you make a good point about how they could put up a lot of options. But I think Montreal's getting some bodies back as well. So I'm going to take the under on this game. Not super confident in that one, but this feels like a game that could go under with one of the defenses shutting the other team down. And I don't have a ton of confidence off of what I saw from Morgan against Winnipeg a couple weeks ago. What did Adam say for this game? Let me check the Discord message here. He said Hamilton and the over, so he's agreeing with you on that one.
Right on.
Game 3. Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Banjo Bowl, the rematch from Labor Day, whatever you want to call it. Bombers hosting this one. 1.5 point favorites. It was a real close game last week. Rematches are always interesting. What do you think?
Oh man, this is a stupid one. I need to go break into the coaches' offices at Princess Auto Field and see what the play calling is going to be. Because if they hand it off to Oliveira 15, 20 times, the Bombers should win. I think. At home, splitting this series, that's how it usually goes. If they go, oh, we're going to do this RPO crap and Zach pulls it every goddamn time, I can't see Winnipeg winning unless Willie Jefferson knocks down the ball every play. So it's a really tough one here. I will go over. I think it'll be a similar score to last week. I'll take the Bombers. I can't. Like sometimes I know I call Mike out for being a homer. This is the 1 week from Labor Day till today or till Saturday. I can't not take them. I feel like I've taken the Rough Riders in the past. Maybe.
I don't know if you have. Well, you unsurprisingly took Winnipeg. Adam unsurprisingly takes Saskatchewan in the over, which means the 2 homers took their teams, and I'm left in the middle as the unbiased one, like usual, of where to go on this game. It's tough because it was a close matchup last week, closer than I thought. I thought Saskatchewan was significantly the better team, but Winnipeg did pretty well. They came pretty close at the end of that game, and if they made a couple of different decisions, they were right there in that. I often say home and home series are split 'em. and I don't see much of a difference that makes me want to go one way or another. So I'm going to go Winnipeg with you on this one. Again, not super confident. I could see it being the Riders, but Winnipeg seems to have Saskatchewan's number in the Banjo Bowl the last number of years. If nowhere else, it's at least in the Banjo Bowl. And I'm going to go with the over as well, because I think we saw some fireworks last week that are going to carry over to this week. You mentioned the play calling. You mentioned Brady Oliveira and the number of carries. I know I've seen some talk around the CFL circle, the Bombers circle this week about people wanting Bombers to maybe, move on from Jason Hogan as offensive coordinator, give Jarius Jackson the play calling. Are you at that point already with them, or?
See, I was getting there until Suter made the point on the broadcast that a lot of the plays, Caleros, they look like they're set up as RPOs. So it's Caleros making the decision. So, or if that's true, so then I took it as maybe this offensive, like the way I saw the plays. How many times did Caleros take the handoff and then pull it and then run as fast as he can to the opposite end of the field? So the way I would view that is he saw that, oh my God, my offensive line is letting 4 guys in. So if he gave it to Oliveira's getting killed, and that's not going to be a good friendship. So what Zach and Caleros did, kept it, been like, oh, I know somebody could be open there, or worst case, I throw it away. That's the way I viewed it after hearing what Suter said. And I know people don't always like Suits, but I don't mind him, actually. He's got some good intel when it comes to that stuff. So if that is true, I'm more like something's not wrong with that offensive line, or Caleros is making the wrong choices and pulling the ball more than he should. If they're all RPOs. Now, there's maybe a thing where maybe the offensive coordinator could say to your quarterback, why the hell do you keep pulling?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But is that what you do to your veteran quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't Belichick and Tom, where you could tell Tom Brady to sit down. This is, a fairly rookie offensive coordinator with the MOP, Grey Cup champion, Hall of Famer. I still think one, if not top 3 best Bomber quarterbacks of all time. It's a little tough conversation, right? And a guy that they've given the keys to the franchise this year, potentially next year, depending on contract. So it's a tough one. I'm always under the impression coaches, I think, have the worst job in the world, because their job is, yeah, sure, you can game plan to a T. Your players suck. You can't. Sure, some things you can do and put your players in the best position. I don't think the Bombers have the talent on offensive line to give Oliveira that kind of thing where we see Oliveira smacking his helmet or Harris heydays. We're not going to see that with this offensive line.
See, I agree with you. And, that seems like a simple conversation that needs to happen between offensive coordinator and quarterback. If that, like you said earlier, I think we see that helmet smack from Brady Oliveira on the first series of this game. There's been headlines about him practicing angry this week. He's not happy with his usage. He's going to go out there and give it his all this week. And I put out a stat on social media this week that Brady Oliveira has touchdowns in 20 separate games in his career. And this was only the 4th time the Bombers have lost when that happened. And 2 of them were in overtime. So give Brady the ball near the end zone. You might win the game, Bombers. There you go. There's your key of the game.
That's my issue too, is like it's either going to cause a rift with the OC, or if it is Zach pulling it, that's going to cause a rift between quarterback and running back. Yeah. And it's not going to be a good, or offensive line be like, dude, block. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, I blew a block in high school and the quarterback was not happy with me for a couple days. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting one. But I take Winnipeg.
Yeah. You took Winnipeg. I took Winnipeg. Adam took Saskatchewan. Final game of the week, another rematch. Calgary is 6.5-point favorites on the road against Edmonton. Over under is 50.5. I can go first on this one. I probably should have gone first on another one. Normally I would take the split, as I just talked about, but why are we doubting Calgary at this point? They are absolutely so dominant. They, in games where their starting QB stays healthy and they don't have a monsoon that they're playing in, and some injuries on the Edmonton defense side. So I think this is a Calgary, another easy Calgary win again this week. Give me them at 6.5. I'm going to take the under at 50.5 just because I think offensively, their passing game isn't as strong as I would have thought it would be. Yes, Mills is probably going to rush for a touchdown there, but Edmonton seems to really struggle to put points on the board, especially early in the game. So give me Calgary at 6.5 and give me the under on the Edmonton on the 50.5. I'll go 2 overs, 2 unders to balance out my week here. What are you taking?
Well, yeah, I like looking at the splits at home, away, things of that. Calgary 3-1 on the road. Edmonton 2-4 or 2-3 at home. Another interesting fact: Calgary 6-0 against the Western Division. Edmonton 0-5. I have a tough time thinking Edmonton. I should have saw that stat last week when I was thinking about underdogs winning. Thought Labor Day might be crazy. This isn't Labor Day anymore. Again, you do convince me with that splitting of back-to-back series. It happens a lot. I don't know the stat, but probably more than 50% of the time, they probably do split. It seems like a lot. Got to go with Calgary, minus 6.5 in this one. I can't see that being a very much different game than last week. And I'll go the under too, because again, I think it's probably going to be a 30-10 kind of game. Calgary will hold it in check, and then just run the clock out for the third and fourth quarter. Just get out of there.
Adam agrees with us on the under, but he is taking the Edmonton Elks to cover the 6.5 points. Why? I don't know his reasoning. So ask him in the Discord or on socials. I'm not going to make up a reason for him. I was going to say maybe he's thinking the split, but then he took Saskatchewan to win 2 straight. So maybe he doesn't believe in the split that much. I don't know. But those are our betting picks for each of the 4 games here this week. We'll see how we do. We'll see if we can get me back on track and closer to 500 this week. Always tough when there's rematches. Like fantasy betting, it makes it weird because how much do you bank on the same performance that a guy went off last week versus how much do you think, reviewing the game film, they're going to adjust to shut that guy down and somebody else is going to step up or change things entirely. I don't know. These weeks are hard.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. It's hard, and it's not as many back-to-backs this week as it has been, I feel like, because it's only the 2 games back-to-back, but it's very interesting. And, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the teams, 4 or 5 of the teams, I'd say are 500, more or less. So 6-5, 5-6. How do you separate that? A couple teams at 4-8, 3-8. Like other than Saskatchewan and Calgary, most of the teams are at 500. So how do you compare?
and we're at the time of year too where we're starting to standing watch all of this, right? Like Edmonton loses again, and it's going to make a playoff push for them tough here. Whereas Calgary is going to be sitting pretty. Saskatchewan beats Winnipeg. The Riders are probably hosting a home playoff game. I think I saw that they're like 2 wins away from clinching a playoff spot if they win that season series over Winnipeg. I think Saskatchewan, Calgary are probably your top 2 teams in the West this year. We'll see how that plays out over the next little bit. Quick story, we've got a couple minutes for a quick storyline that's been making headwaves over social media this week for the team that's on a bye. I want to talk about the Argos because they're on a bye and we didn't get to talk about them today. Social media storm because Chad Kelly seemed to hint on Instagram that he's coming back after the bye week next week on September 13th. What are you doing if you're the Argos? Are you sticking with Nick Arbuckle or are you turning the keys back over to Chad Kelly?
Man, I think Toronto has to take a look at BC's 2024 and say, hey, we had a guy that was injured, the star, or no, he came in out of America, but you know what I mean, the star, whatever. It was VA's team. Maybe it's a little bit different of a situation, not really. It was VA's team. They threw Rourke in. It looked discombobulated for a little bit, and they still haven't really bounced back if they're sitting 5-6 halfway through the next season. Now Toronto's 4-8, sure. They're a game back of the crossover, more or less, a win back of BC in that crossover, but they were looking good. They just came off a big win against their division rival. They're back-to-back wins, right? Huge wins here under this guy. Everyone said, oh, it's if it's Arbuckle's got the command of the locker room, I think you have to leave Arbuckle in. And I hate to say that because Kelly's my guy. We know that, he's still
on the field. On the field, he's your guy.
On the field. Full disclosure, yeah. But And I don't know, but you always have to take into a fact too, because I think I said the same thing when it came to VA and Rourke. Like Rourke really didn't play meaningful snaps even in training camp. What's Kelly done? Was it his leg?
Yeah, and then was it like an ingrown toenail situation or something like that?
If you're not putting any weight on anything, fine. Maybe if it's something upper body, you can run, you could jog, you could do some things. You know what I mean? But lower body, you ain't walking much or running much over the last 10 months. Like I can't imagine he's going to be in tip-top shape. You got to go with Arbuckle. Not only that, it fucks my fantasy because I've been running Arbuckle so much.
You've got Zach Collaros. You seem to think you'll be fine. So
yeah, that's what I mean. My backup plan is Collaros if Kelly starts over Arbuckle soon, or I'm gonna have to go to the waiver wire and one of you guys will steal him just because I don't have any money left. But it's I think you have to go with Arbuckle. Now I could see the argument too. The same thing they did to Rourke. Oh, he's our $600,000 guy, and Kelly's got a contract up there. So you go like, we're paying him this money, and now he's off the IR. Do we have to play him? But I mean, he's getting paid regardless. I don't know. What would you do, Ryan?
I'm Nick Arbuckle all the way. I think Nick Arbuckle is the 2025 CFL MOP at this point. I think he has been absolutely the best quarterback in the CFL. He's been tearing it up. He's a fantasy MVP at the least. And, that's the kind of the lens I look at everything through. But, I mean, the guy has thrown for over 300 yards in, 6 straight games. And most of his games on the season, he's throwing 3 touchdown passes a game. He's rushing for touchdowns. The reason the Argos are 4-8 is not because at fault of Nick Arbuckle. He's been doing everything he can to propel this team to victory. And I was wrong on Arbuckle. I thought the Argos, I didn't have much confidence in them because I didn't have much confidence in Nick Arbuckle. And I thought the Grey Cup performance was a one-off from him last year. And I thought maybe if Kelly wasn't good to go, that they needed a better plan for this season. But I think he's been great. It seems like he's a solid guy, locker room guy there as well. I don't know how you take out the current best quarterback in the CFL and put in a guy that is coming off an injury, hasn't had much practice or playing time. He went home to Buffalo for a while, I believe it was, and is known to, sometimes be a problematic personality around the team, right? And bring negativity and headlines around him.
Yeah.
You can't upset what you've got going right now with Nick Arbuckle. And the argument of like, okay, who's got the bigger contract? Are we going to spend that much money to have him sit on the bench? The money is spent already, no matter what. I never understand that argument of you got to pay your highest paid player. Like, if he's not the future of your team, which I don't think Chad Kelly should be in Toronto, then I don't care about paying him that money to sit on the bench until if Arbuckle's playing better.
No, and I mean, no, you're 100% right. And then you leave Kelly in that position. Like, I'm not saying they would, because he would be a good backup if anything was then happen to Arbuckle. But who's to say? I'm not saying he's going to turn into this, but who's to say this isn't a Collaros trading kit chip down the stretch? If you want, like, there might be a team desperate enough if a big injury happens, say to Winnipeg or another one in Montreal, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. I'll be honest, because I knew the question was coming and I kind of been thinking about it. I was start Chad Kelly probably up until the moment, maybe an hour before we started the show. Something just clicked in my head where I'm like, nah, you got to go with Arbuckle. I was just looking at the fantasy and the stats, and I'm like, because again, it's the same thing to me. You should have went with VA. Maybe he wasn't top MOP last year, but what has he done since? He is the MOP this year, probably like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. By far, I think BC shot themselves in the foot by bringing Rourke back to some degree. Sure, you can make the arguments about promotion and everything, and some people might argue who the best quarterback is right now. If I was starting a team, I'm going to probably take VA over Rourke if I had to list them.
I would disagree. It's no surprise that I would disagree.
I know, but I'm not. I know. Oh, you always argue with me, Trey, over everything. But anyway, I get, and I'm not, and that's where I was coming off of last year's Grey Cup. I think, didn't I not say again, Arbuckle?
You did, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the being a quarterbacks? And I said, like, I think I was saying when these guys do something good in the Grey Cup, it bounces back. Chad Kelly did that, had his chance. Now injury and off-field stuff screwed him. Arbuckle's taking his opportunity. Like, normal people don't have that opportunity to be like, hey, we're going to take your job away. And then when you get that chance, you're never going to let it go again. And Arbuckle's playing his ass off, and he's not going to let that like place get. And I bet when Kelly gets an opportunity, well, I'm not going to bet with Kelly and his attitude. But if he was a normal person, when he gets that opportunity again, he's going to grab and take it. We saw Claros do it in Winnipeg. We've seen VA now do it. We've seen how many athletes do it. So I think you got to go with Arbuckle, but I wouldn't be shocked if that depth chart comes out next week and it's Chad Kelly. I wouldn't be shocked, but I think it's the wrong choice.
I'll be so disappointed if that happened because Nick Arbuckle has been playing so well and he's earned it. As much as I agree, you never want to see a guy lose his job to injury. You also never want to see a guy lose his job to somebody coming back from injury when he's been playing on a tear like Arbuckle has. Let us know on the socials as well. Who would you start next week if you are the Toronto Argonauts? Nick Arbuckle, Chad Kelly. But that does it for today's show. Let us know also on the socials, in the comments, etc. What do you think of the new format, of the fantasy draft format, the condensed format with the betting picks here as well? I had a lot of fun here today. Hopefully it's something that's more easily digestible. I know sometimes our shows have run quite long to get the information that people are looking for. And we'll be back again next week, probably with the same format, unless people tell us they hate it. But in the meantime, you can follow us on social media at CF Countdown Pod on X, on Blue Sky as well, facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod. Let us know on any of those, or check out the Discord community. Link is in the episode description. It's free to join us over there. Check out all the other great shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network as well, at CF Pod Network on Twitter, Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter, or alternativefootballnetwork.com. Trey, you seem like you got a lot of things going on these days. Where can people check out everything you're doing?
Oh, man, if you want to find out anything about horse racing, at Trey MB Harness, still got that going on for a few more weekends here in Manitoba. UFC, man, I haven't been doing my podcast, but it might be the best fights for the next few bits when they milk out this ESPN contract, that they got their big new deal starting next year. So that'll be great. I always post some things about that. What else I got? Yeah, September, man, back to school. So I'm dadding it. Just gotta drop offs, lunches, and all that. I was so happy. I was like, the only thing that made me not be able to make the show is if I didn't have lunches and clothes all ready for tomorrow. But we got it done.
Nice.
They're all in bed. It's all good, man. Oh, I'm too young and hot to have a grade 5 son. But anyway.
Well, I'm happy you were able to make it tonight despite the chaos. It's great to have you here. First time it's been the two of us in a while because I took a leave and then you were away for a few weeks. So good to be back chatting with you. Find me on social at CooperTrooper42 on X and Blue Sky. Don't post too often from my personal account, but you can follow me there. But I'm most active in our Discord community if you want to get my thoughts on anything CFL fantasy or otherwise around the CFL. Last thing I'll plug, last week we did our big special episode 300. We did Ask Me Anything, where people sent in questions about the podcast history, about us, what do we do outside of the podcast. We had some fun CFL questions in there, like which superhero character do you equate with each starting quarterback? Where would you put an expansion franchise, stuff like that. It's a really great episode. That was episode 300. So the first hour and a half or so of that one is kind of a timeless piece that you can go back and listen to at any point. So go back and check that out in the YouTube or the podcast feeds. Whatever podcast platform you're listening on, we appreciate it if you do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends, help us grow the show. We always appreciate that. On behalf of Trey, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.